Here I'm going to factor two trinomials that are known as perfect square trinomials. In a perfect square trinomial, you have a trinomial ax squared plus bx plus c that can be factored into two brackets that are the same so that we can write it as one bracket all squared. And I'm going to explain first how we can identify these. Typically, to figure out if something is a perfect square trinomial, you take the square root of the a, square root of the c to start. See if those are whole numbers. If these are both whole numbers, that might indicate that you are dealing with a perfect square trinomial. But that's not enough. You then have to multiply 2 with the square root of a with the square root of c, and hopefully you get either the b or minus the b value right there. And if you do, that's when you know it's a perfect square trinomial. So let's look at these two. First one here, I'm going to take the square root of the 9, I get a 3. Take the square root on the 16, I get a 4. I want to do 2 times the square root on the 9, square root of the 16. And that gives me 24. So this is a perfect square trinomial. 2 times the square root of a times the square root of c. If it comes out to be the b or the negative of the b, it's a perfect square trinomial. This is an example where you don't want to do some other technique like an Australian method, decomposition method, whatever. You don't want to multiply 9 and 16 and come up with two numbers that have that answer. It will be very complicated. So once you've identified this as your perfect square trinomial, here's what you do. It's very simple. You just ask yourself, how do you get to 9x squared with the same variable? You have to do 3x times 3x. You ask yourself, how do you get to 16? Okay, you could do that with 4 and 4. And the sign you will put on both brackets will be the sign of the middle term here. Middle term is positive. Both of these are positive as well. Then your factored form is going to be 3x plus 4 all squared. That's the answer. If you follow this example, you can pause the video, try part B by yourself, and see if you get the right answer. If you didn't follow, try to watch the video again. Try to watch part A again and make sure you understand it before you continue playing the video for part B. Next one. See, I look at 25. Right away, I'm like, wait, 25 has a nice square root. It's a 5. 49, square root of 49, also nice. It's a 7. Let's take 2 times these values and see what answer I get. Hopefully it's 70. 2 times 5 is 10, times 7, yeah, it's a 70. That's great. It's not a negative 70, but it's still good enough to indicate that it's a perfect square trinomial. So here comes the factoring. So I just write the equation again. And then I'm going to think about, yeah, how do I get to 25x squared with using the same variable? That would be with 5x and 5x. How do I get to 49? Well, we've done it already, 7. 7 times 7. And just take the sign of the middle term. Middle term has a negative. So you put a negative here and a negative there. And then just write it as one bracket, all squared. Okay, so perfect square trinomials are important. You should know this technique. Don't just understand like the Australian method or the decomposition method. You need to understand this technique. You need to be able to look at the coefficient of x squared and the constant at the very end and spot perfect squares. You need to be ready to take their square roots. And if their square roots turn out to be whole numbers, be ready to verify this. And if it's true for your question, then you have a perfect square trinomial.